Senator Taylor, now Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pemberton, the 3,000 officers in your union, is that correct?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
Were you involved at all in January 6th, the insurrection that took place in the Capitol?
I was not there that day. I was at work that day monitoring the situation, but no, I was not present.
Did you get a chance to either talk to any of your officers who were here or to see any videos where your officers were assaulted?
Of course, yeah, dozens of our officers were injured, and we've spoken with all of them, yes.
Do you characterize their experience as a peaceful protest?
No, there was definitely a riot that day, yes, sir, and officers were injured.
So what was your reaction when President Donald Trump gave a full and unconditional pardon to 1,500 individuals who had been prosecuted for violence against police officers?
Well, it's frustrating to see that, but what I point to is since that day, since January 7th, 2021 through today, we've had 1,537 officers injured where someone has assaulted a police officer, and 95% of those cases have been no-papered by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So, yes, it's frustrating to have officers who are assaulted, but the vast majority of those people that assaulted officers that day were arrested and charged, and many of them convicted.
I'm asking about the full and unconditional pardon by the president. Your reaction to that?
My reaction is that it's more frustrating to have suspects who assault police officers who are arrested by cops and have that case no-papered by a U.S. Attorney's Office than it is to have people who are convicted of crimes and spend years in jail and later be pardoned.
I guess I don't follow you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so Dick Durbin did not like to hear that answer right there. He most certainly did not hear that. But did you hear the lie, folks? Did you hear the smarmy, the just unmitigated lie right there? 1,500 people. Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 people convicted for assaulting police officers. That's not true, folks. That's absolutely not true. We've gone over the numbers. I've borne out the facts, so I'm not going to do that here. But we know for a fact that about 50 people, as a matter of fact, were actually convicted of assaulting police officers. That's fascinating. About 200 people were convicted of some sort of violent offense. And then about 500, vandalism, destruction of property, or something like that. So once again, folks, of the almost 2,000 people that were convicted for January 6th, the vast majority of those people were peaceful protesters. So y'all do me that favor and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button. Sign up, become a member, because you know you want to. You need to help this channel expand and grow, folks. But without any further ado,
you're saying that since there were assaults aside from January 6th that were not prosecuted, you felt more strongly about that than the pardon of the president of 1,500 people who violently assaulted police officers?
What I'm saying, Senator, is more than 1,500 officers have been assaulted by people since that day, and nothing has happened to those suspects.
Would you put them in at least the same level of outrage, assaults on your officers, whether in the Capitol January 6th or afterwards?
I don't think anybody should ever be assaulting officers, and if they do, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And should they be full and unconditionally pardoned?
My frustration, Senator, is that no one seems to care about police officers who were assaulted after that day or before that day. It seems like people only care about police officers who were assaulted on that day in the calendar. Police officers are assaulted all the time, and no one seems to care about it, and that's our frustration.
Well, I'm certainly not in that category, and I don't think most people are, but let me tell you something else. I spent a better part of my life in this building, in the U.S. Capitol building, and I think you feel as I do. It is a cathedral to democracy and should be respected. And the people that broke down the windows, came in and beat up on your police officers are despicable. And to give them a full and unconditional pardon to me and call them peaceful protesters is not conducive to saying they are sympathetic to the police and their mission. I just happen to feel that way. Mr. Jackson, you worked on a lot of projects involving state and local government as well, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
What was your experience in the previous administration?
Well, we knew that our local communities needed support. Whether we sat down with leaders in Memphis or Birmingham or Phoenix or Atlanta, the biggest request was how do we keep more guns from getting into our streets? And that's where we specifically focused on how do we invest more into ATF, both through appropriations and through White House support, so that they could have more crime gun intelligence to solve violence before it happens, to close homicides, but most importantly, to keep guns from coming into their communities. When we look at what's happening in our country, the cities that are most dangerous are those blue cities that are in red states where they don't have the regulations. Places like Tennessee where there's no concealed carry permit, there's no background check, there's no extreme risk law, there's no shoot first law, there's no secure storage law. So guns are flowing in and out of these communities that are already vulnerable to violence. And so working with state and local leaders, that's what we focused on at the federal government, is keeping guns out of communities that are most vulnerable.
And what has happened to the funding of ATF under this administration?
It's been slashed tremendously. We've seen 2/3 of even the inspectors that inspect gun stores being cut. And we know that the only entity we have that can keep guns out of our communities right now is the ATF, and it's directly under attack by this administration and frankly by the really harmful bills and budgets being proposed.
So in Chicago, we have a problem with guns coming in from neighboring states, which don't do background checks at gun shows and things of that nature. Was that a problem you ran into?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, even in Chicago, we've seen illegal crime guns show up. In the last 10 years, those numbers have doubled. And when you look at the sources, the number of them that come from Indiana have tripled. The number from Missouri have doubled. And so what's happening is that these illegal black markets that are flowing guns into major cities like Chicago are getting more fierce. And frankly, more folks are profiting off of the deaths in our cities.
And if we slow the rate of these illegal firearms coming into this.
Gentleman's time has expired. Senator Cornyn.
Man, my guy was right there on the cusp of getting it. You heard what that said right there. You heard what he said. He said, oh, these illegal black markets, oh, they're pumping nothing but guns into our communities. Well, you know what? There is no law that you could create that would stop the black market from selling weapons to criminals. Once again, folks, I say this all the time. Like this whole gun, like, let's make up some laws to curb gun crime. None of that matters, folks. None of it matters. The vast majority, I think it's like 96% of all mass shootings happen within gun-free zones. And I'm talking gun-free zones like New York City, places where you're not supposed to have a gun. Chicago, they restrict the hell out of weapons up there in these places. He said, oh, the worst places are blue cities in red states. Yeah, I wonder why that's a problem. Maybe because these people running these cities, they're not tough on crime. They're soft on crime, as a matter of fact. It's fascinating. Once again, I say this all the time. Laws target your average law-abiding citizen. That's going to stop them because they don't want to break the law. But once again, criminals, they don't care about those laws at all. They're going to go around that law. They're going to get that weapon no matter what you do. You can create all the laws you want to. It's not going to stop. The only way to get all of the guns off of the streets and out of the hands of criminals is to take all of the guns away from America, and that would destroy our democracy outright. It would destroy the Constitution. It would utterly violate, pervert the Constitution to no end. That would be irreparable harm to the Constitution, as a matter of fact, because the Second Amendment is second for a reason. It's only second because it's behind speech, and speech is the most important thing. To get out there and voice your opinion, any grievance you may have with your government, you must be allowed to speak that grievance. And you must be allowed to protect yourself from the government that chooses to silence you. Yes, folks, it's in self-defense. We have a right to defend ourselves. This isn't about some well-regulated militia, right? I know a lot of people love to throw that out there. I've argued with people down in the comments section. Well, it's supposed to be a well-regulated militia. That sounds like the National Guard to me. Well, yeah, no, folks, I'm sorry. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is the most pertinent, the most important part of that whole statement right there. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Folks, once again, it needs to be said over and over and over and over and over again that, you know, the Second Amendment was not created so you could get out there and go take out Bambi, for crying out loud. The Second Amendment was created to keep yourself safe from a tyrannical government and to defend yourself against criminals that would choose to violate those laws and try to take what you have. That's what the Second Amendment was created for. The framers were acutely aware of this fact, that people need to defend themselves. Governments get out of hand over a period of time. You can create the best government in the world, right? But over a period of time, it becomes corrupt, it becomes perverted, and it becomes tyrannical if you allow it to do so. This is why we have so many checks and balances. This is why it's very hard for Donald Trump to get anything done. This is why it's very hard for Congress to get anything done. You got to go through all kind of loopholes to, right? You got to jump through those loopholes, essentially, to get anything done in this country. It's very, very hard. This is why Congress is broken. Part of the reason why Congress is broken. I mean, that's a whole spiel. That's a whole nother story. But we're talking about this, right? Like the tyrannical government part. The government was starting to get tyrannical under the Biden administration. They wanted to take away assault rifles, and they can't even define what an assault rifle is. That's just a qualifier that they throw onto the beginning of a word that sounds scary. Assault. Oh, and we see what we do. We correlate assault because, assault and battery. When you punch somebody, that's an assault. So they throw that in front of gun, which is already a weapon. So it makes it sound even more dangerous to scare people that don't know any better, to be honest with you. People that they just don't have any feelings toward guns. They don't want nothing to do with guns, which I would suggest for anybody and everybody to have a gun. For self-defense purposes, at least have one at your house, for goodness sakes. If the worst comes to happen, you can defend yourself, for goodness sakes. Like, in most places. I'll say that, in most places. I've heard, a lot of these liberal states that they don't have any sort of castle doctrine or anything like that, right? Like New Jersey, I've heard a story about a guy talking to a cop, just asking questions about the laws in New Jersey. And he was talking about, what if somebody breaks into my house? Can I defend myself? They're coming in there to harm me. What do I do in that situation? The guy says, exit your home. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Look, I've got a story for you guys. A friend of mine, I was working at a car dealership when I was a lot younger. I was changing oil or whatever. But anyway, worked at this car dealership, and a buddy of mine, the guy that worked right next to me, he was notorious for not taking any days off, right? I never took any days off either, but me and him, we had the best record of attendance, if you will. But anyway, he didn't show up to work one day, didn't call, nothing. So it was weird. It was really strange. And he shows up the next day, says somebody broke into his house, all right? And he blew their chest off, essentially. We'll put it that way, but be about as nice as possible as I can about that. Somebody broke into his house. Well, he spent a few hours at the police station, and they questioned him, interrogation. They did their investigation or whatever, and they sent him on about his merry way. Right? That's how it is here in Louisiana. If somebody breaks into your house, you most certainly have the right to defend yourself. You can pretty much, take that person out of the game, if you will. So, that should be the rule of law. That should be federalized, for crying out loud. Castle doctrine should absolutely be nationwide. That should be one of your rights, because if somebody is in your home, right, you have no idea why they're there. And that's what liberals, they try to use that as an argument against it. Well, you don't know why they're there. They may not be there to harm you. Do you think we want to sit around to find out? Right? Like somebody wants to come in, break into your house specifically to take you out of the game. Do you want to sit there and hesitate for a second to see, I wonder if they're going to take me out of the game? Because if you hesitate, it's too late at that point. And then bang, bang, you're gone. I'm sorry, that defense does not work. That's garbage. You expect me to be slaughtered to satisfy your compassion because you feel sorry for criminals that choose to break a law. That we all try to abide by the rules and laws of this land. Some people don't. Those people don't deserve the rights that they receive. For goodness sakes, if they choose to engage in criminality, then they choose to lose their rights. As a matter of fact, that's just how it is, right? Like prisoners, they don't have most of the rights that you have. They have lost all of those rights. Fifth Amendment, gone. Fourth Amendment, gone. Second Amendment, gone. First Amendment, gone. Almost all of them are gone. I mean, you have to be treated with a certain amount of decency, right? You have to give you food, a place to sleep, these things. But you don't have no Second Amendment rights. You don't have no right to have a warrant, have proof of a warrant for them to come in and search all of your property. They can force you to shut up. Absolutely. They can force you to shut up in a prison. You lose all your rights. So these people, once again, folks, they choose to engage in having their rights taken away by engaging in criminality. It's fascinating, y'all. And these people, they want to take your guns away so you have no way to defend yourself from these criminals that don't care about these laws that they make. It's all nonsense, folks. We cannot allow these people to take the guns away. And that's always an issue with these people. They're always trying to take the guns away. And they say, oh, well, what? You advocate for children dying from gun violence? No, as a matter of fact, I don't. I don't advocate for anybody to go out and commit crimes. But people are evil. And people are going to get a hold of these guns regardless. Regardless. This is something Charlie Kirk was talking about. All right? And they try to use his words against him. Trying to say that, that is a sacrifice, essentially, that we have to take to have our Second Amendment rights. And that's not what he meant, that it's okay for people to do this. No, of course not. Of course that's not okay. Of course it's not okay when a criminal gets a gun and goes and takes somebody's life. We want to stop that. But the way you do that is not taking everybody's guns away. Because once again, unless you can guarantee that you can take every single weapon off of the streets, which, by the way, that's an impossibility considering criminals will hide their weapons. Once again, but unless you can guarantee that, then you cannot guarantee our safety from criminals who choose to engage in criminality and break these laws and choose to engage in gun violence. That's just a fact of life, folks. Something we cannot get around. But these people, they want to tug on your heartstrings and make you feel a certain way. Don't let them do it. Don't be fooled by the nonsense. That's all it is. It's nonsense. But I've rambled on for way too long. So you guys, y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. It really, really helps the channel out. And, subscribe if you're new around here and you like videos like this and you want to stay up to date with news and politics. Check out my other videos because we read the news and we figure out how we're being manipulated and the lies and smears of the corporate press and all that good stuff. So y'all do all that. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you could, I would be deeply appreciative if you guys would click that join button, sign up, and become a member. It's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But that's all I got. You guys remember that God is always with us, and He loves each and every one of you out there. So y'all remember that, and y'all try to have a good day, and stay legitical. Peace.